Oh, bother.
It's the most wonderful time of the year, ladies and gentlemen, and what better way to celebrate the holidays than with a bloody revenge story directed by John Woo. Today we're going to talk about his newest movie, Silent Night. So load those clips, pour up that eggnog, and let's get into it. So the beginning of the movie shows our main character, Colonel Rick Flag, whoever the hell he is, running through the favela from MW2, and it looks like he's hawking down these two whips who are having a shootout on some Saints Row time, and they are literally smoking each other in these cars. So he's trying to cut off the truck and digs up this rusty-ass rod, pause on that, and he waits for his moment to strike, unleashing a Mario home run on their windshield. So they turn on him and chase him down with the Dracos, but as he's getting chased, he times his escape with a forklift, and two of the dude's heads get ripped clean off. I know you're in a life or death situation, but did you really need to give this dude two bodies? I mean, he's just trying to make an honest living and do his job. Eventually, one of them catches up to him and pops him with Blick, but he pays special attention to the shooter's tattoos all over his head, looking like his 8-year-old cousin drew them. Anyway, he gets ready to pack this man up by shooting him in the goddamn throat. Pause, that sounds crazy. He ends up in the hospital and his wife is there all tweaking like, oh my god, where's my husband? He got shot. Where's my baby? Meanwhile, they got him in the operation room and he's just like,
this is bullshit.
So he gets visited by this detective and is that Kid Cudi?
Remember that lady that went live on Facebook with she got pulled over by the police and they shot her husband?
Oh nah, who keeps letting this man in movies? So he leaves his card and we get a glimpse of his recovery. Turns out he lost his voice and now he gotta talk like this.
I used to love winning.
So they leave the spittle, and when they finally get to the crib, we get a flashback of him kicking it with his son. If you haven't pieced it together yet, little Billy got smoked in that gang war we saw earlier. So he starts tweaking, realizing his life is pretty much crumbled all at the hands of gang violence.
Gang violence, bitch!
He decides to get fucked up and play Baldur's Gate 3 all night in the man cave. A little later, we see the flashback of how little Johnny Appleseed got put inside a pack. He gets up and decides, you know what? So he rings up Kid Cudi and meets him at his office, skimming a little evidence off the top, including his own shooter, Crayola Head. But after he gets what he needs, he just dips. So he gets home and starts to red yarn bulletin board of who and where to find these guys, literally counting down the minutes to when he's gonna bump into his ops. Is this dude from Jacksonville or something?
When I see you, I'ma push your shit back, boy. Chopper get the spin through your set, we don't fight, boy.
So he installs the pull-up bar and gets started on his Uncle Ira workout plan. He's brushing up on his hands by watching Detroit Dust videos, he cops the burner whip, like this man is on a mission. He even tricks it out like he's gonna compete in Death Race. Bro really thinks this is Twisted Metal. Last but not least, he's been in the firing range trying to make Nina his new bed. But I'm not gonna lie, he was pretty trash at first, like his aim was absolute dog water. He even cops the duffy full of illegal straps from the RE4 merchant. Now with his wife knowing what he's about to do, she accepts that he's too far gone and she says, I'ma head out, leaving him for good. As if this dude didn't have enough reason to drop bodies already. But regardless, he keeps on his mission, and a few months later, he cases one of their hideouts and sees Crayola Head in the building. He Pokemon snaps other big players in the org and resumes training, including his stunt driving like he's recording for Jim Connor or Baby Driver or something. He even leveled up his shooting to 100. The next day at the grocery store, he bumps into the ops, but he's already been sussed out, and we see Crayola Head being embraced by the community, handing out money and hugs like a politician, or 6ix9ine in the Dominican Republic. So he decides this is his opportunity to catch him lacking with Commando Probe. He decides against it and gets clowned instead. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. After last-minute prep work, he begins phase 1 of his plan. He breaks into one of the power players' houses and abducts him. He hog ties his ass in the basement and he tortures him like Trevor from GTA. I'm just kidding. He does try to make him fill out a questionnaire though, which is also scary and menacing. This plan pretty much backfires immediately when this man Houdini escapes his ties and charges this man with a knife. How the hell do you get stabbed by your own knife? So they start squabbling and he takes an arrow to the knee, but he hits his Achilles and they start rolling around. But I am not gonna lie, Brody is really struggling here. And this is where I started getting worried, because how did he do all this training ready to take on an army, but he can't even win against a dude he already had the drop on? But anyway, the Metal Gear CQC training does pay off in the end, because he mixes him up and ragdolls him on the kitchen table, taking him out like a date. Pause. So some more time passes, and thanks to his Wolverine healing factor, he's ready to stand on business. He leaves one last note behind, says his final goodbyes, and alright, let's get to the smoking already. I've been waiting all goddamn movie for this shit to turn into Christmas John Wick. Dry them tears and go get that get back for little Johnny Appleseed, I'm saying. As he dips though, he drops the dude that he hog-tied up over at Detective Kid Cudi's house, along with a thumb drive straight from the Gunna files, including the info on every member of the gang. So he drives through the city at night, but decides to unleash some street justice on a couple of grape enthusiasts. So he crushes one with his car and gives him a quick tummy tuck, but he holds onto the top of the car like it's spring break, bitches. But he eventually caps this fool on the roof of his car. Meanwhile, on his way to their HQ, his actions have caused a gang war. 12 is dropping like flies, Cholos are dropping like flies, and he's ready to third party this shit. So he pulls up like Frankenstein in Death Race and starts letting Koopa shells fly out the window. Red shells to get the job done, green shells to flex. And when he turns the corner, he sees himself a little, lady cop. Mrs. Officer, Mrs. Officer. Alright, let me chill. Now he does does try to save her and throw her in the whip, but she's hit for her last plate and doesn't make it right at the last second. So he catches the dude who's giving Crayola Head the intel and he smokes his ass in 4K. And he literally sends that shit in their WhatsApp group chat. So Crayola Head sends his main certified capo after him, just like Nemesis, who kinda looks like Big Smoke Chapo. So they catch up to him and are turning the streets into road rash with the crashing and the fighting. So he slides on them with the Franklin drive time, and he was like, oh yeah, I've been waiting on that moment. So he caps another person and bro gets tossed out like trash day. And he gets cornered by the truck and he just lets rounds fly out, but he gets Oreo double stuffed. Pause. I mean, human centipeded? In between those two cars, and they start having a shootout all fucking connected to each other. So he pulls some maneuvers and makes them crash into each other, and all he's gotta do is lose Ghost Rider over here. So the cyclist pulls right up to the window like it's Wendy's.
Bugging out. Yeah.
He loses his bike in the alley, but holds onto the car, and I know his core is burning right now. But he crashes him into a pole, but breaks his son's old music box in the process. We still see that the main capo is alive, and that Detective Cuddy is headed over to the address given to him by Brian. And with the group chat still going up on the phone that he stole from dude that he capped, he gets a drop on them and heads out. You'd think they were moving from the group chat by now. So he tails them to their hideout and hops off his motorcycle like he's in an edit. And I got a feeling that Brian's from Detroit or something, because he just looked over and said, you know what? Firebomb time. So he hits the motorcycle with the pump and explodes them into the Love the Way You Lie video. He Zombieland double taps them all with the shotty and keeps it pushing. So he heads up the stairs to double pump 2 more dudes. Pause. That sounded insane, but he drops them. This dude fights with him for a second but gets done like the employee of the month. I'm going for an AC 130, I swear to God. So this last guy tries to get into his foot fist way bag. But bro says, oh, you thought we was fighting? I got something else for you. So he's getting rushed by more enemies, but he uses one of them as a meat shield. Pause on that. So he caps 2 of them quick and then smokes his meat shield. And then he starts squabbling with this dude that looks like Kraglin from Guardians. After he dumpsters him, he gets himself another double kill and heads into the room, but not before getting his armor cracked. So in the next room, he starts setting up a Capcam tripwire and he proceeds with caution. Shortly after, he's met by the #1 capo, Ruiz. He's on the hunt for his get back, and I'm not gonna lie, Brian is not standing a chance at first. Like, he was whooping on him like Danos did to the Hulk, giving him that life-changing fade. But the Capcam goes off and it buys him a couple shots on him, and he stabs this man crazy, and then they crash into the next room, swinging his blade around like he's Season 1 Peacekeeper. So Detective Cutter shows up to the party mad late trying to see what's good, but Ruiz bitch ass picks up the fully auto carbon with the beam John attached, firing from the hip is faster than reloading looking ass. But eventually, once they get into close quarters with the guns, he gets taken out by a 5.56 round to the head. And then yo, something happened in the next scene that I was not expecting at all. Kid Cudi started hitting headshots, slide canceling on the ground, like he was going crazy with the akimbo. It looked like he was putting his absolute all into trying to get that Warzone dub. I mean, goddamn. So Brian is locking in for one last final push, but is met by Kid Cudi, who essentially tells him you're valid at the cookout. But then Crayola Head's baby mama runs into the spot with the SMG spitting like it packed his in. They eventually get the drop on her, and he's got her dead to rights, but fumbled the bag like Mark against Dula. This results in her capping both of them twice. He does eventually smoke her though, so Brian says, fuck this, I'm finishing what I started, and goes to Crayola Head's room for the final showdown. But Crayola Head gets like 1, 2, 3, I don't know, like 20 shots off on him before he can even get one off. And just as he's about to be reunited with little Billy Bob, Kid Cudi bails him out. And then that's when Brian gets to strangling this man until every last ounce of life has left his body, finally exacting his revenge. Kid Cudi pulls up next to him as Brian looks up in the lights and reminisces his old life with his son. Right before it closes out, we see the toy train set he built at his son's grave. And that was Silent Night, folks. Alright, so first things first about this movie, definitely took way too long to get into the action. I understand these kind of backdrops are necessary for revenge stories, but I think they spent way too much time highlighting stuff people do not care about. Like, we get it, they threw your son inside of a Swisher Sweet and smoked it right in front of you. So can you show us what you're gonna do instead of trying to tell us? Speaking of which, they can't even tell us because there's no talking in the movie, which I thought was a really good artistic choice. Plays on the title of the movie and is supposed to reflect him getting his vocal cords removed from the gunshot, which I'm not gonna lie, at first I was kind of worried about that, like it wasn't gonna keep my attention, but honestly, thank God there wasn't any talking in this movie. It made all the emotional scenes and action scenes hit way harder. The acting and casting in the movie were like, meh. Like, I feel like all the characters, you could have put anybody in the role and they would have knocked it out of the park. Weren't really any fleshed out characters that deserved like Oscar-winning performances here, but definitely not even necessary for a story like this. If you go into this with a little bit of John Wick expectations, I would definitely leave those at the door, because that's what I did and probably shouldn't have. Not like the movie was terrible, it was pretty entertaining in its own merit. And if you love action movies with gunslinging, boxing, weaving, then I think you're gonna enjoy this movie, especially during this time of year. Action movies just made for Christmas are some of my favorite kind of Christmas movies, so give this one a spin if you want a little release from the status quo of the holiday season. Thank you so much if you made it this far into the video, and I hope you're having a good holiday season out there. The year is almost over, so we gotta finish strong and start getting ready for the next year. Don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Really trying to see if we could hit 500 subs before the year is up, but I can't do it without you. Lend me your energy. Big shout outs to everybody who's showing new love and support on the channel. But other than that, thank you guys for watching, and have a happy and healthy holidays from all of us here at Dookie TV.